Inbar, tell us just a little bit about you, my friend.
So my name is Inbar. I'm part of the framework team working with Din, Reach, Harry, and Steve to build a framework.
Great. Can everybody hear Inbar? Inbar, can you speak a little bit louder if you don't mind?
Of course I can. No problem.
Awesome. So the assessment, the radars were developed in collaboration with Scaled Agile. We actually had really a lot of fun visiting the new Scaled Agile office. If you haven't been there, you should. It's definitely worth a visit. And of course, as you know, the SAFe and Scaled Agile frameworks are registered trademark. This is all the legalese. And the SAFe assessment and the content itself is copywritten by Scaled Agile.
And I want to also bring up Mark Ricks, who's also been instrumental in working with us. And it was a lot of fun working with him and trying to build this radar and all the DevOps content.
Yes, Mark was amazing to work with, and he really is an amazing thought leader in that space. But working with both of you guys together to jointly develop this was a great experience. Very collaborative effort. All right, so tell us a little bit about why is Scaled Agile interested in DevOps?
So DevOps is an interesting thing. People are looking at how can they move faster. Agile's been going around for a while now. We've talked a lot about scaling Agile. And as we were building SAFe 4.5, we noticed that while DevOps were there, people were missing it. And they were thinking about, should we do DevOps? Should we do Agile? There are business reasons here. The business needs things at a certain time. We're not going fast enough. But the problem is that if you're just looking at it as a DevOps or Agile, you're kind of missing the whole point, because we need development operations to work together, but we need them to work in a compatible way. If you only have operations really doing a very good DevOps and building a great deployment pipeline, but development is still working in a very waterfallish way, then you really have big batches that are being pushed into the pipeline. On the other hand, if you have a great Agile team, a great Agile train, but they don't have a pipeline, then they can get to customers. So we started getting really interested in how do we actually improve this, and how do we get people who are doing SAFe to understand that as you're doing Agile at scale, you need to do DevOps as well, and it must be part of what you're doing.
Wonderful, which really brings us into some of the challenges that you've seen with DevOps. I know these are a few, but can you just talk about them? Like why is it that DevOps really is here? And you've already mentioned a couple of them, like the large batches, but anything else that you want to mention here?
So let me start with the bottom one here that you have on the slide here, and that's the lack of trust. We've seen those silos, and by the way, they're not just between development and operations, they're between the business and development and operations and compliance, auditing, security. Everybody who's needed to develop and deliver value to customers, there's a lot of silos and a lot of lack of trust. They also are siloed by the fact that operation will a lot of the time really want to pause. Let's not change anything. We need stability. Development will be, let's push new things out there, and the business will have great ideas that maybe customers will need and maybe they don't. But you don't have this really understanding and collaboration across this. So we have a lack of communication about what does the end user actually want. And this is an interesting thing, because we've had research showing that people are using maybe 18% of features in software. But even if it was higher, let's say 15%, 50%, that still means that 50% of the things we're building are wrong. How do we know that? What are we doing about them? Then when you're coupling that with the things that are in the higher part of the slide, talking about how do we make it run faster? How do we reduce defects? We want to get things out there faster to the market, but at the same time, we're getting things that are wrong. We're getting things that are not working in production. So really, how do we make sure that we can go faster while maintaining stability and while making sure that what we're building is what customers actually want?
Yep. No, love it. So Scaled Agile has obviously invested in DevOps and actually built it into the framework and the model. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so DevOps has always been there. But in SAFe 4.5, we decided to actually put more emphasis on it because we wanted people to understand that this is an essential element of SAFe. The ability to release on demand, we're going to talk about that in a second, is essential. So we've actually put it in, and you've highlighted three parts here, which are really important. One is the continuous delivery pipeline, and the next slide is going to go deeper into that. The other one is DevOps. And we're seeing DevOps as much more than just automation, and there are multiple aspects to that. We're going to cover that in the future slide. But the last one is built-in quality. How do we actually make sure that the code quality aspect, the system quality aspect, the release quality aspect, all of those actually play a really big part in our ability to continuously deliver value and release on demand? So really focusing on built-in quality practices has been a very important thing for us in our journey this last year and a half, really thinking about what does that mean and how do we build quality to exploration, integration, deployment, and release on demand.
Have you seen, I'm just curious, in order to make this DevOps a reality, have you seen organizations create, DevOps enablement teams, or is it really the systems team that begins to teach the other teams? Like, where are you seeing, where are these skills strong, and then who's really in charge of bringing it to the other Agile teams within the train?
So if you see the image of the train that we have right here, and maybe can we move to the next slide? I think
sure.
It'll be easier to see. You can see the train here. You can see it's part of a value stream. There's a stream of activities that are required to deliver value to customers. Start with the trigger. Maybe we have a new requirement. Maybe the customer wants something. And it goes until we actually delivered and validated the value. And it's everybody that's on this value stream is crucial. The problem that a lot of people are trying is that they're trying to split it up. Let's create a DevOps team. Let's take the two existing silos, development and operations, and make a new silo, DevOps. No, we need to get people together. We need to get development, operations, security, compliance, testing, product, business, everybody coming from across the value stream, coming together to actually support this continuous integration. System teams play part of it, but if you don't bring everybody together, if you don't understand that DevOps is literally making sure that the entire value stream flows, that you're missing an essential element here.
Very good point. So tell us about the CALMR approach that you use to create the DevOps Radar, which we'll talk about in more detail here.
So the previous slide was talking about the continuous delivery pipeline, was talking about the elements, and we're going to go back to them. But if our focus is the ability to release on demand, to get things in the hand of customers, because not everybody wants continuous release. Think about us, Scaled Agile Framework. Would everybody wants us to release a new version of SAFe every week? Version 5.
It would be overwhelming.
No, it will be way too overwhelming. Too hard for people. But we want to be able to make sure it's there so that when the business makes a decision that this is the right time for users, we can release it. Now, this requires the entire pipeline. But what underlines the pipeline, there is a CALMR approach to DevOps. And we didn't come up with some of this, so it started with CAMS, and then just Humble added the L for lean. We've kind of added the R for recovery because we think it's important. But there are underlying things that are making this pipeline function. And the first one is culture. If we don't have a culture of shared responsibility across this value stream, across development, deployment, operations, security, everybody else I mentioned, you can't get it happening. But then automation is a key part of it. How do we automate the entire pipeline? How do we make sure that we have small batch sizes, things are actually flowing, that we're not pushing too many things into it? How do we create visibility? And the radar is going to be a very important part of this. How do we measure the flow? Again, the focus on measurement. We're going to talk more about that on the radar. And then finally, recovery. If we want to release more often, if we want to deploy more often, if we want to deploy continuously, we need to make sure that we have a system that's architected to enable low-risk releases. So this CALMR approach to DevOps is the underlying thought process, the underlying mindset behind the entire continuous delivery pipeline.
It's wonderful. And so how do you see organizations beginning to adopt something like this? So when a company has really low DevOps maturity, is that primarily why you've built this sort of a radar and the workshop from a Scaled Agile perspective, is to bring in this knowledge, this education, so that they do know the how?
Yeah, so a lot of people think of DevOps, and by the way, Agile as well, as let's go and just automate things, or let's just go and train some teams in Scrum. But as you know, Sally, this is a long process. The reason why you have all those health radars, and not just the DevOps Health Radar, is because it's a journey.
Exactly.
It takes time. We want people to see their maturity and understand where they're going and understand how they can really improve this. And we're seeing two tools that can help them start driving it. The one is pipeline mapping that we're doing in our DevOps class. And the other is this, the DevOps Health Radar, which will really help people to understand where they are and where they should be improving.
So speaking of the DevOps class, tell us a little bit about this 2-day workshop. You know, what you've done it several times now. What are the goals and what are people going to get out of it?
So this was, again, an interesting journey, and a lot of work was done with Mark Ricks to actually think about how do we build it and how do we take a lot of our experience and what do we want to actually get in 2 days. And this is a really experiential course. So people come in and they're really mapping their current delivery pipeline. So we start by actually mapping what they're doing right now. And all the companies, everybody has a delivery pipeline. Might not be continuous, might not be great, but they have a delivery pipeline. So we start by mapping it and measuring the flow through it. And this is already immediately eye-opening to people. We've had people with even mature DevOps implementations that were going through this and trying to see, and they're going through and saying, this is 5 minutes, this is 1 minute, this is 10 minutes. How can we take that 10 minutes to 2 minutes? And then further downstream, they have an approval process. It's taking 8,000, blocking everything. What does it matter if you take those 10 minutes to be 2 minutes? It's a lot bigger than that. It's a lot more complex than that. So after we map the current pipeline, we go and we really go through everything we're doing right now. We're going to go through everything we're going to cover in the health radar. We go around the health radar, around the 4 dimension of DevOps, and really try to think about how can we improve it? What are the skills that will help us improve continuous exploration, continuous integration, continuous deployment, and release on demand, and really come up with a concrete plan of action at the end of it of how can it be better.
Love it. Love it. And you've got over here, execute an action plan for the DevOps transformation. So this is beyond just 1 or 2 teams. It's really, you know, within my whole area, my line of business, or within my organization, what am I going to do to start maturing from this perspective? So you've got some cool pictures over here. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, so this is from one of our DevOps classes, and you can actually see here, what is sitting on the back in the middle is the DevOps transformation canvas. And on the right-hand side is the current state. On the bottom left side is the future state, and all those yellow things are the improvement ideas. And this is one group, as they were working through this, they eventually come up with a few improvement ideas. You can see them on the right, and they prioritize them. And their top things were validating the measurement, continuous integration, and then behavior-driven development. And they've actually estimated that by doing this, and this is a projection, you're doing a future state, it's a projection, but they've actually projected they can take the process time, the time that they're actually spent working, from 171 hours to 165. Not a huge improvement. But then the overall time, including all the waiting that's happening, they can take that down from 492 hours to 217 hours.
That's significant.
That's significant. Their activity ratio, that's the process time over lead time, goes up from 35% to 76%. Not only that, because of the focus on built-in quality, they have this thing called rolled up, complete, and accurate. That's the right. The chances of the feature right now makes it through the pipeline without actually having to be stopped and repaired at some point is 0.0185%. And they're seeing that those changes are going to take the chance of a feature making it all the way through without having to stop and go back up to 74%. That's a huge increase in quality. That's measuring. When I go to the business and say, I need you to pay for this DevOps transformation, and they've been in the room and see those improvements that we were projecting, they're going to see why we need to pay for it, because that's huge.
That's wonderful. What was the AR metric? The process time, lead time, and AR was what?
So the process time is how much we spend working. The lead time is the overall time, including waiting.
Yep.
The AR is the activity ratio. It's just process time over lead time.
Got it. It's the final, the division between them. And I do like that metric that talks about the waiting, like how many times are you going to wait? And then, so basically the probability is going to go to 74% that your story is going to get all the way to completion without being stopped.
Exactly.
That is awesome.
Exactly.
So now let's get into it. Talk to us a little bit about those, the DevOps radar and why you came up with the whole idea of sit, crawl, walk, run, fly.
Well, I wish I could take a lot of credit for this, but some of the ideas came from Mark, and we had some great ideas there around maybe having a radar. And we've had other radars in SAFe, but they were usually very vague. So let's say we're talking about let's say we want to talk about continuous exploration. We would ask, how are you doing in continuous exploration? Rate yourself in 1 to 10. But I think it's only working with you and with Mark that I actually came to understand that this model can be a lot deeper. So in the SAFe DevOps Radar, and again, we could never have done it by ourselves, we have a much deeper maturity model that for each one of the sub-dimensions, and for each one of the dimensions here, for example, continuous exploration, has 4 sub-dimensions. So for example, one of them is architect. So for each one of them, we can talk about what does it mean to be sitting? What does it mean to be crawling? What does it mean to be walking? What does it mean to be running? What does it mean to be flying? Mm-hmm. So we're not just asking an open-ended question. How good are you at architecting? I don't know. We have specific examples of what does it mean to sit? What does it mean to crawl? What does it mean to walk? That allow people not only to understand where they are, but to understand what does it mean to move to the next segment. And this was a breakthrough for me. I mean, just sitting with you and working on this, Sally, was huge, because I finally understood how people can actually use this not just to kind of give a ballpark of where they are, but really understand where they are and where can they improve.
Yeah, and this, really echoes our experience. Obviously, we've had AgilityHealth out in the market now for over 5 years, and we learned our original questions in any of our radars, the team health or any of them, were really sort of, here's what great looks like. Please rate yourself from 1 to 10. And what we found in Inbar is everybody overrates themselves, and it's not because they need to. They're so excited about what they're getting done.
And I think that was...
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I agree with you completely. And another thing that I really like that you did here with the radar and with the tool is that you can actually separate this and ask people and ask teams, but also ask some of the business users. So for example, the goal of continuous exploration is not doing continuous exploration, it's gaining alignment. So on the one hand, we can ask the teams, are you architecting? But on the other hand, we can ask the business owners, are you seeing alignment? Are you seeing quality? Are you seeing time to market? So maybe we're doing all the practices, but we're not seeing any of the results. So the ability that you put into this tool of actually asking different stakeholders different things is truly amazing and creates a lot of rich.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of something that's visual, is to start a conversation, right? The radar in itself is not going to solve your problems, but it's the conversation, the improvement plan, are we aligned? I wonder why developers have rated these things really high, but maybe the testers on the team rated it low. I wonder what the business thinks of this from their perspective. Right. So that's great. So can you tell us a little bit, when we look at the radar, there's also some quantitative. I remember in our session together with Mark as well, we really talked a lot about, we wanted to sort of have these be the competencies of where you need to invest, but then so these are the capabilities where to invest, but then here is what the actual result should be. And if you invest over here, you should see this result. Tell us a little bit about that relationship of please invest here, you should see these outcomes.
Of course. So again, the goal is not to do continuous exploration, continuous integration, continuous deployment, or release on demand. We have business. So for us, the goal of continuous exploration is getting alignment on what do customers want and what we should be building. So the whole thing, we need to build a hypothesis. We need to collaborate and research, talk to customers. We need to architect. We need to synthesize everything we've learned into a set of features that we're going to work on. But the goal is alignment, just like you were circling. The goal of continuous integration is quality. If we can actually build all of these, then we should see fewer escaping defects. We should see a better quality around everything we're building. Continuous deployment is all about time to market. How do we actually achieve time to market? How do we get better at this? We want to make sure that everything is sitting in production, ready for the business to make a decision. And finally, we're not releasing to release. We're doing it to get business value. So imagine we just released the SAFe DevOps Health Radar. You just release it on AgilityHealth and nobody's using it. Well, then maybe it's not what people need. But if we never go in and assess and really see how are people using it, what are the questions that are helpful for them, what are the questions that are not, how do we make it better, how do we make it more usable, then we're kind of missing the whole point. We've done the whole circle, but we didn't get any of the points of why we actually did that.
That's wonderful. And that actually, just for folks listening, aligns very much, even on our enterprise assessment. We say that the 3 enterprise metrics that matter to executives is value, flow, and quality. And flow really is time to market. So, organizations are really investing in enterprise agility and DevOps and Agile so they can improve those 3 metrics. And of course, organizational alignment and clarity is critical to that as well. So what I was going to go through is just a couple of other examples of quantitative metrics. We also realize at the team level, from the team health radar, so that the team health dimensions are, clarity. A team should have clarity on their vision, their plan, and their roles. The team should show performance, and we measure performance based on the confidence. So we've learned that if you ask the right people on the team, if you ask the product owner, if they felt like we're on the right track, they would have told you that there's a problem. So this is very much a leading indicator. But then we do want some quantitative numbers, and at the team health level, we've selected predictability, time to market, value delivery, quality, and responsiveness. Because when we looked at a lot of the Agile surveys, state of Agile development, we found why are organizations moving to Agile? And we found that those are consistently the top 5 reasons. And of course, for a team to be healthy, their leadership needs to be healthy, their culture is healthy, and their foundation as well. So I just wanted to share with you some of the additional quantitative metrics that exist at the team level. Are they predictable? We call it the say-do ratio. How often do they deploy, lead time to deploy, throughput. A lot of teams are not doing this yet, which is really, and this is a big movement that we've got going on right now with a lot of our customers, is beginning to talk about outcomes and not output. We find that most of the teams are so focused on output that they're not really measuring the outcomes and the objectives that they're trying to accomplish. And once those become quantifiable, we really love the OKR method, the objectives and key result, then you could also begin to actually see if the team has achieved the OKRs that they were and what % of the OKRs were accomplished. And there's some different quality metrics. I'd love to engage you here. Inbar, do you like some of these? Do you not like some of these from a quality? Do you like the mean time to recovery? Change failure rate is how often do our production releases result in a problem? Some people have said you should just really ask the customers and the product owners if they're happy and they're satisfied with the quality. Obviously, test automation coverage, and then defect density is the number of defects divided by the number of stories. So, out of every 100 stories points that we deliver, is it 20% of that, 50% of that are defects? Do you have any opinions or thoughts here around quality?
I think these are really important. I think that a lot of people don't stress enough the measurement, and there's a reason why it's part of CALMR. And while I see the DevOps Health Radar more focusing on the art level, the Agile Release Train level, the program level, if the teams are not working the right way, the train will never run. So
yes.
Really asking teams how they're doing and seeing their defect density or their test automation, these things are really important. If you're looking at story cycle time or feature cycle time, we more talk about lead time, but it doesn't matter. This tied directly into the waiting that's there. Because if we have a lot of waiting, then we need to see this. And some of it we can see on the overall scale of the art, but some of it is happening just on the team. So really focusing on MTTR and really focusing on hard metrics is important. Yes, it's great to ask people about quality and satisfaction. It's important to ask those, but a lot of the time it's very hard to make actionable things that don't tie to concrete metrics. Because, well, we heard from this one that he's happy, we heard from that business owner that he's not happy. But the fact that we have a lot of defect density or escaping defect, or that our throughput is going down, is objective evidence that teams can actually use to improve.
Yep. I feel like these metrics give you the case of why you need DevOps, because when you collect this at the team level and you realize some of these metrics are not where you want them to be, then, DevOps and all of these areas that you've laid out in the other radar is how to improve all of this. It's, what to do about it.
Right. Although I think that a lot of the problems are between teams and not necessarily in a team, but you're right. These will help us focus the fact that we have a problem.
Yeah, it's just a leading indicator. It just tells you a symptom of a problem that's happening. Great. So, there are some folks on the call today that might not know what AgilityHealth is, so we wanted to make sure we did that introduction. So AgilityHealth, we are the world's leading measurement and continuous growth and improvement platform. We really built AgilityHealth because I had a strong passion around continuous improvement and creating organizations that are learning organizations. And what you'll realize is, we are transforming to DevOps, to Agile, to enterprise business agility. We're trying to improve lean product development. We're trying to improve the role of the leader. There are role-based, there's so many areas organizations are on the journey to improve. And what we found is without a visualization of, okay, so what does the journey look like? And how do we measure ourselves on that path? And and how do we come collectively to come up with action plans that are going to take us to the next level. So that was really the vision and passion that, that we have around Agility Health. And so what our platform does really is it gives you three things that are important to us. It enables visibility into your teams. We realize that a lot of organizations can point to the platform of truth or the enterprise platform for projects, and that's usually their work, and it's Jira, Rally, version 1, any of the other platforms. But if you actually said, hey, where are all of your teams and how are they organized? Can I just get a visualization of the trains and the portfolios and the teams underneath them? It's a logical visualization. They really struggle to share with you where their organization visually, where they can see that. So think of Agility Health as that enterprise platform of teams where you can visualize your teams, your trains, your portfolios, and your value streams. And then once you do that, how healthy are they? And how are they doing from a performance perspective, and are they aligned to the right outcomes? Those are what we call the three metrics that matter: the health and maturity of the teams or the trains or the portfolio, the actual hard metrics and performance, and then the most important new addition that we've added is really the alignment to outcomes. So within Agility Health, we are passionate about the cycle of continuous learning and growth, which is really measuring, growing, and then iterating. I wanted to share with you this image because this is, a lot of people, I explain to them when you're bringing in Agility Health, you're not just bringing in a platform that's just going to like run metrics for you. So you're just like when you're bringing in Scaled Agile, you're not just bringing in that model. It's a completely new mindset. It's a shift in the way that we work. It's the shift in the way that we lead. And so with Agility Health, what we're really passionate about is this idea that, every PI, every quarter, you're going to use that as a time box for learning and growth. And at the team level, teams are going to go through and assess what they're doing well, where they could improve, using the Team Health Radar, coming up with some team growth items, but raising their voice. I think this is one of the most critical part that actually had us built Agility Health, is I really wanted to hear the voice of the teams in terms of where can we help you? Where do you need help? Coming directly from the people that are experiencing these obstacles. And then at the multi-team level, which is the train level, this group of folks over here, the managers, the coaches, the train leaders, remove these organizational growth items. But if they get stuck, if the train is stuck, then you've got the next level, which is the portfolio or even the enterprise. And you do have senior leaders that are willing to roll up their sleeve and also own improvement items at that level. And so this three layers of improvement and continuous growth we're very passionate about, and companies that have been very successful at accelerating their transformation, their learning, their growth, being extremely competitive. And I know all of you guys know this, but learning, your ability to learn, inspect and adapt and pivot very quickly is really a competitive advantage now. Gone are the days where large companies are eating small. Now, companies that are very fast are eating the ones that are slow. So that is exactly the job and the goal of this side. But on the left side, I want to also reflect on something that's important, which is business outcomes. As an organization, we want to start focusing less on just getting the work done. I call it sort of just being really busy in activities and output. But we want to start to align our portfolios, our value streams, our trains, and our teams around outcomes that are measurable. And it's really a two-way street. What we're finding is if you want to align and achieve outcomes, you're going to have to remove obstacles and actually take action on these improvement plans. One of our largest customer, really, really proud of them. They really mobilized, across 1,500 teams and many, many leaders and about 21,000 people. They really started, I would say, one of the one-of-the-kind continuous improvement program, where they are exactly, running and getting these information, getting the metrics around maturity. All of the managers are rolling up their sleeves and removing these obstacles, and even the senior leaders are accountable, and just it's been amazing to watch. So let me pause here. Inbar, do you have any input or thoughts here around continuous growth and improvement, also as it relates to the Scaled Agile model?
I agree with you completely. So when we started Scaled Agile, when we started the framework, we had a model of this is what SAFe looks like. But a lot of people are asking themselves, how am I getting there? So your concept of the journey of really thinking about how do I know where I am and how do I move to the next level? Well, we've released the SAFe implementation roadmap. That's part of it. But really focus on how are we growing, how are the people growing, how is the enterprise growing, and how are we achieving key results, because the point is not to do SAFe. The point is not to do lean or do agile. It's to get the right outcomes and the right results.
Exactly.
That focus is key.
Yep. Exactly, which brings us to the key metrics that matter. So that was a good segue into it. So again, a lot of people ask me about metrics because obviously this is our bread and butter and we do a lot of work around measurement and continuous improvement. And I really just want to give you sort of this idea that we have to look at the three metrics that matter, and they are the health and the maturity. I've just met too many leaders that say, oh, I don't care about that. Those are just foo-foo metrics because they come from the voice of the people and I just want to only see the hard metrics. Well, I want to tell these leaders then you're not being strategic. Those health and maturity qualitative metrics are leading indicators of what's about to happen, right? So if the team is not happy, if they're not engaged, if they're not confident, if you can tell that some of the basic practices that they need to do to start adopting and improving are not really there, then it's actually telling you what's about to happen. So the quantitative metrics, which is the performance, the hard metrics that we just talked to Inbar about, are extremely important as well because they tell you if you're actually performing. But the most important metric that actually matters is the outcomes and the result. No senior leader or executive from the business is really going to say, oh, show me your MTTR rate. They're going to say, is my organization achieving business outcomes? And now that we are starting to align teams and trains to value streams, and we are really focusing on either our market segment or our products or services or the journeys, whatever way that you're organizing around your value streams, we really can start, organizing teams around outcomes, real, true business outcomes, just like it's a small startup within that organization. And so, within Agility Health, we always say, start here, right? This is what really matters. What are the outcomes you're trying to achieve? And basically taken from the Scaled Agile model, which is what is your 3-year strategic intent, which is sort of a 3-year outcome. That's the strategic vision. How do you break down into yearly themes, strategic themes? And you'll find all that in the SAFe portfolio model. And then one more step above that is how do you take those strategic themes and break them down into quarterly outcomes? And again, we're fond of the OKR method just because it's very clear. And this is the metric that matter. Those two metrics over here tell you why this is not being achieved. So when somebody says, why are we not achieving outcomes? Here's the why. Well, from a performance perspective, here's where we're struggling. And if we are struggling from performance, here's the why, because we're not, adopting these practices that we need to. So think about it from this perspective is there's really 3 metrics that matter. And when you start to hear that, your leaders are only talking about performance, which is what we call output metrics, then let them know that they need to talk about outcome metrics and also maturity and health, so that they can actually solve the problems. So I wanted to show you, go ahead, Inbar.
Can you go back for a second? Because I think you really hit on a key thing here. I was working with a lot of organizations that really were focusing on delivery, but the problem was that they were either not getting outcomes or they were wearing their organization to the ground where the team's health was starting to deteriorate, people were leaving, and the outcomes are there now, but they're gonna go away. So really thinking not just about today, but also about tomorrow and how you're building those things and how you're building your force. And I agree with you completely. I see a lot of organizations that are completely delivery focused, but are missing the fact that what they're delivering is either the wrong things that the customers don't want, or they're doing it in a way that's destructive to the way that they're building their business in the long term.
Yeah, I love that. Either they're breaking the teams so that they're not healthy anymore, or they're not looking at actually, are they really delivering the right product? A great example of some product related metrics, you guys, if you've heard of, pirate metrics, which is called R, right? It's activation, acquisition, activation, revenue, retention, and referral. So these are really designed to say, is anybody using your product? Are they activating? Are they converting? Are they referring other customers? So we don't, and we've been bringing a lot of this, business outcomes training to some of our customers in Inbar, and it has been so interesting how difficult it is because we have been hardwired to think about output. Almost every time I start a workshop on outcomes, people are writing down their first outcomes. It ends up being launch the product. And and I know that launch the product is output. That's just launching the product. That doesn't mean that you've achieved any value from it. And I think it's a whole new muscle memory and a whole new muscle, sorry, that, you know, and skill that, and it's not even just for the teams. This is actually, I believe it's for the product managers and the senior VPs and the business leaders that need to become more outcome focused. Just like we had to learn how to break down epics to features to stories, and the Agile teams really took time to learn that skill. I think outcome writing is going to be the new big thing for senior leaders and for product leaders.
I agree.
So now let's look at the SAFe DevOps Radar in action. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of share with you a little bit, and then we will go to the actual AgilityHealth platform so you can see it. But this is sort of what the summary looks like of a radar for a team that's completed the assessment. You know, you can expand it or collapse it, and you can also go into this version of it. And this version is really the detailed version. It shows you where people actually voted and what the average line is. The main purpose, again, of the radar is a conversation. Where are we aligned? Where are we completely far away from each other? You know, why did the business customers vote really high, the business product owners vote really high on an area, while we voted it low or other way around? The alignment around the conversation enables us to agree on an action plan. I remember a team member said, if we don't even agree that we have a problem, how are we going to solve it? You know, if you think we're doing really well and I think we're really doing bad, until we have a conversation. So that's really the purpose of it. The retrospective, the DevOps retrospective really follows the same as our normal team health retrospective, which is we start with step one, which is the team members complete the survey on their phone or on their laptop. Then they analyze the results that are real time. Immediately they show up. I was very frustrated when we built AgilityHealth with, you know, people having to go and download Excel sheets and combine this data with that data and go off for 2 weeks to come back with some insights and analysis. I really wanted the team right there, right then, to see the results, analyze them, and then build a growth plan. So it's really the simple 3 steps for the facilitation. We do recommend, and we do obviously certify AgilityHealth facilitators. The reason we do that is we've just found that this conversation is so important, and it's actually very condensed, so you do it in a short period once a quarter, that you want somebody who's skilled at facilitating, at digging deeper, at bringing out the voice of the team, not prescribing and telling people, you know, here's where you need to improve, but letting them get some ahas, letting them prioritize and rank and dot vote the areas that they believe, such as what you just showed, the picture that you showed, Inbar. So can I ask you to just talk a little bit more about the importance of following those 3 steps and having some, you know, good solid facilitators helping?
Yeah, and imagine where this could fit in SAFe. Yes, this could be done by a team, but again, I'm seeing this as a bigger thing, a program, and even a large solution thing. So we have in SAFe something called the Inspect and Adapt event, where we're doing a retrospect, we're showing the demo, we're looking at qualitative metrics, which some of these could be these, and then we're doing a retrospective and a...
Where is that slide? I have that slide.
I don't know. So
went away. I had a slide of exactly when it's safe to do it. But go ahead.
really going into how do we make it better with the problem solving workshop. So imagine that in qualitative metrics, you have the entire art there. You have 125 people in the room, and you just have them take out their phone or a computer and just answer the survey and immediately see the data of how we're doing, have a real conversation, understand where should we improve. Usually gathering that data is so hard. But if you have so many people, everybody might interpret everything differently. So facilitating something for a team is one thing. How do you facilitate that 125 people in the room working together to really understand, and then in a very tight timeline, coming up with, this is the most important, let's prioritize it, and then let's work on coming up with the root causes and solving them. That, using a tool like that is instrumental, because the other way, as you're saying, is, okay, let's have every team work and get it in Excel, and then we'll send it to the release train engineer, they will roll it up. 5 months later, we have metrics to actually work on. Too late.
Yep, exactly. So which brings me to giving you, showing you what it looks like. So in those teams that are in the train, we would set up basically every team, and every team would answer questions, but that actually all of their answers would make up one radar for them at the team. And then I'll show you how all of it automatically rolls up. So the team, after, even though they're all answering it together, 120 people, they could still go into just their radar and see, hey, how did we feel about our DevOps health and maturity? And, you know, what, again, let me remember, what does learn mean again? And so you'll see right over here for learn, you know, they did a great job, Mark and Inbar did an amazing job, I believe, providing a little bit of education at the beginning. So Mark, Inbar, do you want to talk a little bit about this, the kind of what makes up the questions? and sort of that intro that you have for each one of them.
Sure. So when we were building this, and I think, again, a lot of this came from Mark. So as you're coming to assess how you're doing in learning, we're using also the same health radar in our course, so you're immersed in the material. But if you're just coming in, you're saying, okay, learn. How am I doing at learning? What does that mean? So if I'm looking at the description here, it means once we're finishing with releasing something, are we learning from it? Are we seeing it's being used in the market? Are we making actual decisions about should we pivot or persevere? Should we continue in doing more on that or not? Now that we understand what it means, we can go and say, oh, well, we never evaluate our features post-release. We're seeing. Or, well, hypotheses are evaluated using even objective measurement, but we don't really take a lot of actions because there's a lot of politics and we just invested in this epic. So we don't want to make the decision of it was bad, we should go back. Or are we actually continuing learning, experimentation? That's just part of our DNA as an organization. So learning is just part of what we do. So this really gives the people who are taking the survey an understanding of where they are. And one of the things I like that you did in the tool is, let's say I'm walking, but this could actually be a gradient. There could be I'm a 5 or a 6. So there's even gradient within each one of those places to say, well, I'm more in the beginning of that or I'm more in the end of that. And I thought that was really powerful.
Yep. The idea is really just to kind of help them have this conversation, understand where you're at. But also the shading tells you like how far apart. I mean, somebody rated this in terms of a fly, and somebody else rated it all the way. So I think we have to have a conversation around, do we first of all understand what synthesize even means? Because maybe that's the problem. Maybe we don't understand what it means to synthesize. And then what is it, which one of these areas? So at the team level, these are the things that you'll see is, what are the top areas? What are the lowest competencies? Where are we seeing from a consensus? We see eye to eye. And where did we completely diverge in our responses? We're just all over the map. And again, like we talked about, the improvement plan is the most important part of this conversation. So we really want the team to come up with just, 2 to 3 items maximum in the next quarter that they really want to improve on with some very clear acceptance criteria for their action plan and their growth plan. And within the quarter, within each retrospective, if they would like, they can just come back here and move it to in progress or to done. So this is down at the team level. Which is beautiful, but immediately after everybody submits their answers, you can also look at the multi-team. And the multi-team is sort of all of the teams that were in this specific train. In this case over here, we only had 4. We had Avengers, Groot, Rocket, and Voltron. And by the way, if you don't want to show the names of the teams, if you feel like, oh gosh, this is comparing teams, feel free to just click on hide the names of the teams so that the data becomes more anonymous, but you're at least still evaluating the data. The opportunities here are amazing because what you can see is I have a blue team over here that knows how to do respond very well. I wonder if they should be helping this team down over here. Can we learn from each other? Or look at this, we are all struggling with deployment. So I wonder if deploy is a skill that we need to do some training around this area because all of the teams are struggling with it. So that's really the objective of the multi-team, the roll-up view is how do I analyze across, 10, 20, or even hundreds of teams, how are we doing, and roll it up so that I can take action and figure out where is it that I might have a bottleneck or an area that needs focus. The other thing that you can do here is similar to what you had mentioned is you can go by role. So you can say, I'd really like to see how the developers versus the QA testers. It's really interesting that there's a very big gap over here between the QA testers. So QA testers is green in terms of responding. So a lot of the developers rated it here, a lot of the QA testers rated it here. You could also say, show me what the business folks responded versus the folks that were more in technology. And because this is one of our newest radars, we still don't have a lot of data yet, but what I really love in the future is also benchmarking. So benchmarking, you can benchmark internally. So you can say, I want to benchmark against all of my teams internally, or you can actually benchmark against everybody in AgilityHealth. And so if you benchmark against AgilityHealth, you're saying, how am I doing against the world? Everybody that's using the SAFe DevOps Radar here. So it's very exciting for those that do like benchmarking and do like to understand, how are we doing overall? Again, at this level, if you guys recall, we talked about, at the team level, there's an improvement plan, but at this level, the improvement plan that you would see over here Again, there's a visual table. Some people say, I like the radar, but I also just like to export everything to Excel and analyze results. No problem, you can do that. But the growth items that you see here, what I love about this area is these are growth items that the teams have moved to that second level. Basically, teams said, this is beyond my control. These are areas where we need management to actually intervene. So at the team level, you have a growth and improvement backlog for teams. At this level, you really have what the management, the coaches, and hopefully your DevOps coaches could work on. So that's really awesome. The other thing is, if you do want to see quantitative metrics as well, we do integrate with Rally, Jira version 1, and I think HP as well. And we're adding some additional so that you can see both the qualitative and the quantitative. We don't have this right now, but growth journey is awesome. And growth journey would begin to tell you over time, we don't have any data here yet for this one, but over time, as you are improving, am I getting better at continuous exploration? Am I getting better at continuous integration? Or I can go into one of them and go into a little bit more detail. So I just wanted you to see a little bit of what it looks like from an Agility Health perspective to use this, and the benefit, especially if you're scaling, to have a platform that can scale and gather this kind of data and share, tell you the overall maturity.
And again, think of it from an inspect and adapt perspective. Imagine that you're sitting in an inspect and adapt event. Every team is taking out their phone. They're filling out there. Immediately we have this radar that Sally is showing here. We immediately see some of those. We're prioritizing them. We're doing root cause analysis, problem solving workshop. We're understanding some of what do we need to do in the app programming. And then we're documenting it at the bottom immediately as a growth plan. We're pulling it into the next PI. We're really starting to work on it. That's super powerful.
Yep, that's exactly it. We just really wanted to turn the whole learning cycle very, very quickly by giving you the data visually and then enabling action immediately from it. The other thing I want to show you before our time here, because I want to start taking questions, is business outcomes. So business outcomes is one of our newest capabilities within Agility Health that we are super excited about. We've actually had lots of great positive feedback, even from customers, and especially large customers that are saying, I don't feel like my teams are aligned around outcomes. I think they just focus on work. So let me be clear, the goal of this outcomes dashboard is not to manage anything related to the work, because that will be in your ALM platform. But what we did want to do is say, regardless of how big your company is, if I clicked on the highest level of an organization, what are your strategic intents? What are those 3-year vision statements? And then how are you breaking them down into strategic themes that are 1 year, similar to exactly what the portfolio layer in Scaled Agile advises is, we got to come down to strategic themes that are 1-year goals. And then how are these broken down into quarterly outcomes? Those blue columns over here we call demand. So this is the demand. This is what we want to get done. Well, under Agile Transformation, which is a simple company right now that I set up, there are 2 portfolios, and there's the ATI Health portfolio, and there's Agility Health dev teams. And so these portfolios are going to own these following quarterly outcomes. And a quarterly outcome is really just using what we call the OKR method, which is, here's the objective, put a hypothesis statement, we believe that for the following persona, doing the following action will result in the following outcome, measured by the following key results. And if you've watched any of the videos, even around the difference between impact metrics versus just outcome versus output, that's why we created this. This little symbol says this is the final potentially impact. This is really what we're after. So we wanted to be able to distinguish where in an organization, maybe improving NPS score, that's the final impact. We're not going to get that done in a quarter. That is not a key result that we can even measure within a quarter. But these over here are leading indicators that we can control potentially and measure within the quarter to improve customer satisfaction. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of a taste of those 3 metrics that matter. And again, obviously you can go down at the team level or at the train level to see what outcomes. And the conversation here is not about output, nor should it be. And actually, Felipe Castro is one of our coaches on OKRs and outcomes. This kind of information shouldn't even be in an output-based platform. It really should just focus on outcomes, because it's all about the value that we're delivering. And this is really where executives and product managers could be aligned. So let's go back to our slides. And let's take some questions. So I'd love to now engage you and see if you have any questions. There is a little Q&A. I think there's a little chat that has Q&A that you can send questions in. I'll go through a couple more slides. One of the things that we've added to the DevOps retrospective, instead of just the 3 steps, is we feel like in some case you might want to start those retrospectives with some DevOps awareness and alignment and even education. So, you know, giving a quick overview of DevOps if those teams are very new and not familiar. So this is a step that can be added as well. And then I wanted just to show you examples of growth and improvement plans that we've seen from customers that are really trying to improve, whether it's improve the definition of done or automation improvements. And as I showed you, there's just a Kanban view for moving these improvements into in progress and done. And we just looked at the new AgilityHealth Outcome Alignment Dashboard. This is a big hit for us because a lot of senior leaders and product managers feel strongly, again, that we're talking about output too much and not outcomes. And this gives it very simple. The other interesting thing we've learned from Philippe is really just, you know, 3 outcomes per quarter. That's really it. You know, more than that, you know, those are, because every outcome has a lot of key results. You know, a team really can't impact more than that. So that really helps you limit your WIP process as well. So Inbar, how do people get started? How do people kind of start on this journey? What do you recommend?
I think your last slide was on the point on this. People need to start with really understanding and getting some knowledge, but then really assessing where they are, understanding, building a plan, improving, and understanding it's a gradual process. We have our SAFe DevOps training is a great place to start. Running the assessment is a great place to start. One will drive the other. It doesn't even matter. If you run assessment and you understand, we don't really understand enough how to measure our pipeline, SAFe DevOps Health class can help you. But the class is a starting point. If you don't understand that this is a journey, that you need to run a DevOps assessment, you need to take actions, you need to run it again, you need to take action, you need to run it again. Same thing with the mapping that we saw before. You can run a mapping as part of the class, but you need to continuously do that. It's not a one-off thing. It's a journey. It's a long journey. And it's an understanding that you continuously have to do it. The radar is a great place to start. And one of the things that we have right now is a courtesy of AgilityHealth is there's a kind of a free version where you can, a kiosk where you can go there and just try out the assessment, see how it works. It links from the SAFe website. And this lets you understand you're missing out on a lot of the depth that selling, comparing teams and benchmarking, but at least it can give you that glimpse of, oh my God, we're doing really badly, and we should probably then go into the deeper journey.
Yeah, I should have really added a link to that because that's so great. I forgot to add a link to the kiosk. But if you do go under, you know, SAFe DevOps, you'll see the radar and you'll see what we call the kiosk mode. And the kiosk mode is, you know, individuals can just answer the questions to get a taste of it. Obviously, you're not seeing results as a team, but it really helps you see the quality of the questions that Inbar and Mark have put together. They've really put a lot of work into this, and it's continuously improving as well. So, so that's awesome. Yep, you can put a link in the chat. Okay, great. So Melinda's going to put a link in the chat so you can get to the kiosk page. All right, so let's take some questions. Let's see how many we've got. Do we have a couple questions? Just one at the beginning. So it looks like our first question is, what options do you have to provide as a consultant to use your platform for AgilityHealth? Yeah, we have a partner program. And really, if you're a consultant, then you could just really buy a package of assessments and then just start using them. Our assessments are just $500 and the smallest package is 5. So it's really that simple. So you can just buy a package of 5 assessments or 10 or 20 or 30 and then use them within your consulting and engagements with your customers. Obviously, you know, charge whatever rate that you need to for your own time. If you are an actual large enterprise or a customer, then we just have the subscription model. So we, regardless of what radar that you're using, you know, you could use any of our radars. We have a team subscription, which gives you access to all of the team-based radars. We also have our talent development subscription, which are all of the individual-based radars. And then the third subscription is the business outcomes module. So all of these options are available. And of course, the facilitator certification is also something that I would recommend, which is just investing 1 day of your time to learn how to use AgilityHealth, how to facilitate that retrospective, how to roll up the results, how to analyze it. It's done remotely or in person, and I believe that we were targeting to do a workshop at the Scaled Agile office, so we'll be announcing when we get that rolling that's on the calendar.
That would be cool. I'll definitely attend.
Yes, no, you need to co-teach, not attend, my friend. We're going to try to find out when you're available. All right, do you have more questions in the chat?
We do, from Eugene.
Eugene, okay.
How long have implemented AgilityHealth with SAFe DevOps? How many clients have you tested on?
Oh, that's great. So this is new. So this is kind of our launch of our DevOps Radar. So the question was, let's ask Inbar, when did you create the DevOps Radar and bring it to market?
So this is completely new for us. We've released the course in April, and that's when we actually started doing the health radar. But this was not in the tool. This was just like in the course, we could run some things. It's only, I think, maybe a month ago that we've just introduced that link and the everything on the website that links to AgilityHealth and actually lets people run. It's so new that we just don't have a lot of data around this. The course itself, and a lot of people who've been doing the assessments, it's already been there's a few thousand people that have gone through this and have run, because a part of the course, they're actually doing that assessment. Mm-hmm. So we've had a lot of good feedback from people that really going through this and understanding how it goes. And this was some of this work we started before working with you, Sally, and we were actually missing some of the depth, and people were looking for this even sit thing. And I remember Mark was calling it tummy time, because I'm just lying prone doing nothing.
Yes.
And so really people are starting to understand that this really gets a visibility into what and how they can improve it. And we're getting great feedback for this.
Yeah, so even though from a platform perspective, the radar itself is new, what I loved that Inbar mentioned is, they've done this workshop with thousands of people, and they've been, bringing in all of that feedback and all of the adjustment to the questions so that we could, just basically make it into the platform. And obviously we've had the platform where we've been doing radars and assessments for years now. So it was really exciting to have this.
And just for the other part that's in what Eugene said, there's a kiosk that the link was just put into chat, and you can just go there and try it and run that DevOps Health Radar and then see how it works. You run it yourself, run it with the team, see how it works. But I think you'll find out that you need the full tool to actually get the benefit of really understanding the comparison and the benchmarking and the time data.
And the roll-up, yeah, great.
Eugene just followed up with, he's looking for an AgilityHealth demo.
Oh,
so
sure, no problem.
We would connect.
Any other questions?
And then one more from Warren. One of the slides showed a different radar, more quantitative, in addition to DevOps. Is that included accessible also? Yeah,
so the other radar, Warren, that we showed was the team health radar, so that we would do it at the team level. I agree with Inbar that really the DevOps, you could do the DevOps at the team level as well, but I also saw that really at the team level, you want to do the team health, which has both qualitative and quantitative. I think it was this, going back real quickly, and I'm sure it will take forever to find it now. There we go. So the team health radar has the maturity, which are qualitative, and it also has quantitative questions here. So we also have a crawl, walk, run, fly for each one of those in here. And then the DevOps radar really would be done across the entire train. And I think you'll start to see some correlation. You'll start to see that at the team level, you're seeing symptoms of some of the problems, and the DevOps radar would really help you solve them and get to the how. What else?
We had a question about certification fees. So I'm putting a link in the chat.
Certifications? Okay, yeah, no problem. Can we, Inbar, can you share the cost of the 2-day workshop for DevOps?
I'm actually thinking they're talking about your facilitation certification.
Oh, our facilitation. Oh, okay. So that's just $1,000. And you can do it again online or in person. Hey, Inbar, this was amazing. Go ahead.
Our course is $14.95, but I really think that they were asking about yours.
Okay, no problem. And I think even for our course, just so you know, there's always the $200 off if you get the early bird special. So that is always running. Everybody, I really hope that you gained value. Inbar and I put a lot of effort to make sure that we deliver some good content today that does help you on your DevOps journey. Again, I'm very grateful, Inbar, for you spending the time and for the partnership with Scaled Agile. It's been amazing for us. We love you guys sincerely. And I'm just excited to see everybody begin to grow, whether you use our platform or not. That doesn't really matter. If you can go out there and use the kiosk, just take the learnings that you've got from over here on how to take DevOps on the next journey of maturity. Any other final or closing thoughts, Inbar?
No, I just thank you for hosting this. And again, I agree. The idea is for people to take it to the next level, become as great as they can. We have our summit coming up next week. It's already sold out, but if any of the attendees here are actually coming there, stop by the Scaled Agile booth, stop by the AgilityHealth booth, and really experience some of those things for yourselves.
Yeah, we actually have amazing t-shirts that are gonna be sold out like in no time. We're free t-shirts that have this radar on it and the 4 areas. So it'll be very exciting to see you guys if you are coming to the summit.
One learning.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna let everybody go. Thank you so much for overtime. We will send you the recording. Thanks for everybody participating.
Thank you.
Bye, Inbar. Thank you very much.